So let us give you a little background, right? Like why we did this, and there's a couple of reasons which are very obvious. One is that our new customers, old customers, people trying to put process through our tool, we're still finding it a little difficult with stringent workflow and so many steps, and getting confused as to what to really focus on and get moving with the final steps. So we wanted to concise this, and we were going to give a comprehensive overhaul of our UI since a very long time, with all the study and all the research that we've been doing, collecting feedback from you guys. We were doing this since a very long time, but now it was finally the time to make those changes live, along with this new trend that has given birth to certain challenges. The new trend is obviously Chat GPT, right? Like there are tools now out there which are just chatbot, and you'd probably be able to interact and write some content along with it, right? And they obviously have some limitations. So many of us have started thinking, okay, you know what? It's a very cheap commodity to go and write content. Everybody's trying to create tons and tons of crap content. That's what's leading to floodgates of crap content. And we've been seeing this across many, many, many niches. Your topic starts because you have good authority, you might be good at doing some crazy backlinking techniques and things like that. You might get your page moving along. But then as the page experience drops, right, people start looking at that content as thin content, not really providing much value. They start bouncing. And over the period of time, you start seeing those pages drop. So that's been a general trend with many of these, and we wanted to address that. We wanted to address the issue of what kind of effort should go behind putting a page together that can bring in leads, that can bring in people, that can bring in revenue, right? Like you want to do something substantial with it, and not just throw any kind of people to a blog page that might not convert, or it's just not going to bring in any sort of revenue at all, or at least any sort of revenue. So we wanted to change the algorithm behind optimization to adapt to this new changes in 2023 and give a very comprehensive way of scoring on page. And we're analyzing now many more data points to come up with suggestions for how much effort, expertise you might have needed, right? Like the kind of research that you had to do behind putting the page together. So we'll look at all of these things with this new release, and what should have taken 3 or 4 sessions for me to go through entire editor and explain everything, I believe we can narrow this down into 40-45 minutes, which says that we've simplified the process a lot, brought a lot of things together. So let's get started. I'm excited. We have close to 100 people. Welcome everyone, and let's get started. All right, so I'm going to start with the very first screen, which is our document dashboard. People write upwards of 500 documents a month on Outranking through a single account, and it just becomes very cluttered and unorganized to find the documents. And I don't want you to spend 5 minutes looking for the document that you are trying to create content, or just trying to collaborate or share it with someone. So this is the new document dashboard. Everything in Outranking now is left to right. So you should be able to follow that, right? Like the manual navigations, what follows after that, and what your action items should all follow from left to right. So in left, you have your folders. You can navigate to home and different folders. You can favorite folders, you can archive folders, search through folders, and even create new folders. The favorite folders go in this directory, so you can easily navigate to the folders which you are obviously working more often right now, and then unfavorite it once you're done with it. Same goes for each directory. You can click on the folder and it will show the documents within that particular directory. We currently have one way of moving the document into a different directory by clicking on the topic and moving it. And we know that this is one-off process, right? So there will be improvements to drag and drop and move bulk of these in, but we have the framework set of how we want to present this data. So this is how you'd control your document structure. It's very, very, very easy. There are some additional controls. If you want, you can add tags, you can add keywords, anything that you want to additionally see as part of your document, you can add and delete out of it. And this is saved in your cache. So the next time you visit, you will be taken to the similar view. Okay, you can share the document and you can archive the document. So these are very self-explanatory. I don't need to go through this in detail, but this gives you pretty much all sorts of ways to manage your document currently. Okay, many of you might be working with briefs, optimizations, and writing new content. In that case, you can click on type and then set a filter which says content brief and apply. If there are any, it will show up. If there's optimization, you can apply and it'll not show up, right? And so forth and so on. Okay. All right, now let's go to the next part, which is when you create new documents. So this pretty much stays the same, just a little bit of a UI lift over here. And we are going to create a topic. So I'm going to demonstrate this on a very difficult topic, right? Like you would need lots of research. Well, at least if you want to write very good content, you would need extremely a lot of research to go behind this in creating this content. So I'm going to walk you through the brief as well as the AI writing process and the optimization. Now let's start with AI writing. When you create a new document, let's go through this and it should create the title. Okay. Now, again, right, like everything goes left to right. We are in this topmost panel and there's just 4 action items over here. You can minimize this column you can minimize the workflow by just clicking on this arrow. We'll minimize this and it will automatically minimize based on certain screen resolutions now. So it's a little smarter. This is pretty much the same. You can select a title, so not much changed in the title. You can also check the score of your title and how you can potentially improve it by clicking here. This is totally draggable. So if you're working in smaller screens, this should auto adjust, but you can also adjust this yourself. And then you can generate outline. Now, for this example, I've generated outlines for this specific section so I can show a few things to you guys. Now, let's see this outlines that was generated. We've slightly improved the trainings and the data behind each of this model. So it does a little better job, right? Like, but these are very well-trained models that can understand the data and build your outline. So outlines and outranking does not equal to outranking outlines in any other tool. It is not that easy to replicate this because we have tons and tons of trained data that went behind identifying the kind of outlines, the kind of information that outline holds and where to go and get those information and build out the outline. Hence, these outlines are really talking to the audience and showing the pains and the things that they might be looking to understand when they're reading your content. So I strongly suggest not bypassing this process of creating outlines. Many times it will give you a lot more details, which is okay because having more ideas and concising it down is much easier than coming up with new research and going about and finding new details, which you don't even know what you're looking for, right? So this gives you a very great start. Okay, let's look at some quick controls. Again, everything left to right. And we had background data up here in the last release, which we removed. And because many people were missing it and it was not part of your workflow, so we brought this as part of your workflow. And you can just add the background data by clicking here and adding the background data. We'll go through this in just a second, the improvements that's there. But these are your outlines. You can start now by seeing the score that we have assigned it, domain authority, backlink profile, and the word count. Super easy. You can manage by disabling any document that you want right from here. So you don't need to navigate to additional pages and do all of these details. Okay, let's click this. And I've added some example of what you can really do to enrich the data when you are generating first draft. So I have used these queries that you see, and I've added approximately 23 pages of data automatically to the background data. So what I've done is, this is one of the served queries. We're writing information about Elementor Pro versus Divi, right? So if I go to the SERPs and look for information around Elementor Pro versus Divi, and then base my research on just that, I will probably get 20 pages of data. And that too, people have seen it and people have understood it, and you're probably not going to add anything unique to what those top pages are bringing in, right? So you want to bring additional research and you want to bring additional data when you're writing the AI. And this is where, again, right, like it's not like any other tool where you just go and add your own data or get it to give you some feedback. And then you have to do the factual research and understanding of where you got this data from and mapping all of that. It just takes tons and tons of time. So our tool can go and do semantic searches within these pages and identify many, many, many URLs as background data and build out the content. So you can execute this, right? Like, so I wanted to get features of Divi, so I can get a comprehensive view of Divi. I got features of Elementor Pro. I got reviews from a good site, which had quite a few customer reviews. Then I didn't really find many review sites for Divi, so I found one website which had decent reviews, and then I found another one which had some statistics around Divi and a Pro, right? So it kind of helps me enrich my data when I'm writing these details. And that's what I did. I added URLs and they got added all the way at the bottom. The ones that you see empty are all those URLs. Now let's minimize this, and you might think like, where did my outlines go, right? Like, what are the outlines from the ranking pages? Well, they're right here, and you can expand this and read through this, or you can simply click on expand all, and they will all expand into a view that you are familiar with before, right? And it's extremely straightforward. Go through this and identify things that you might want to add into your page and then build upon that. Okay, now let's see some other very cool things that you might not notice off the back, but it will bring tremendous amount of speed in how you can create content and how well structured you can keep your content with paying a little attention. So let's say you want to change the hierarchy of this, right? So when you're changing the hierarchy right now, there's 1, 2, and 3. If you change the hierarchy, it will automatically adjust no matter what kind of structure you have created. So if you have even used hash, you've used steps, right? If there is any similarity between your topics, it can understand that and rearrange itself. So you don't really have to go and edit this again and again. This was one of the tasks, right? We are suggesting that you create this modular structure for your content. But then this was becoming a challenge. So this is a huge piece that we have added here that should improve your productivity. Okay. Now, generating first draft, like a lot of people want to generate content using prompt writing, and which is what we strongly suggest is using prompt writing. It takes a little more time, but it is very well researched and it's not skimming through the surface, right? Like it's going into the depth and nitty-gritty of what you really want the users to understand from your content, and you're guiding it to give you that information. So we suggest that you use prompt writing as your writing workflow, but it's totally up to you. If you'd like generating the first draft, having it a benchmark against something, and then have more ideas to build with prompt writing further on, that's okay as well. You can pick your battle and see which one works the best for you. Time, effort, and quality is something that you'd have to consider when you're balancing generate first draft versus prompt writing. So for this example, everyone's familiar with generate first draft. It's very straightforward. You click on it and it will generate the first draft when you click next here. But for this example, I'm not going to generate the first draft. Okay, a quick thing here. You can again move around and change the positioning of your screen. There are some additional controls here, which were there before. Just sort of revamped it to kind of let you to help you understand. These are some relevant terms that if you target in your outline, it could improve the reach of it, right? Like these are some related terms with search volume. So you want to target those terms because the ranking pages are ranking for those terms using a single page. and you could potentially understand all the pages which are doing different tricks and come up with a concise strategy to target all of these related terms in it. Not saying there will be 100%, right? Like there will be certain terms which might not make sense, so you don't have to touch those. But this can give you a very comprehensive idea about what you might want to emphasize in your content through your outline to build better and more aligning content. Okay, let's go to the editor. And once you go to the editor, it should automatically paste your outlines in here or the missing outlines that were not there previously. So you can do back and forth, and it will automatically kind of understand that these are some outlines missing and it needs to add it, things like that. And now there were so many complications, right, in the previous screens, right? Like too many panels and things like this. This is super simplified version of that. And this is our new optimization. So let's go over some quick controls in the editor that have changed, so to help you understand where some of the things might have gone. And a major thing that we moved out of this was your writing tools, right? Your methods, your prompt writing, image generations, and things like that. And those were the things that people have different opinions about, and they want to use it very differently, right? Like, so having those tools in way of everyone was sort of also getting quite a few people lost, right? So we clubbed them and put them into tools over here. This allows you to access through all the AI tools from the footer panel. So tools will lead you to prompt writing, as well as you can run all your or multiple prompts using run prompt command over here. Yes, so it's easily accessible from somewhere where you can access it from anywhere, right? Like you don't need to open up a couple of panels, jump through a certain hoops to get to this information. Okay, let's close this out. We can go back to optimize. This is where you'd start with. And I will go into the tools, AI tools after optimization and the enhancements around that. But let's look at just the new scoring. This is, everything has been changed. Everything has been revamped to reconsider the implications of AI and how you should be approaching content, right? So title being still the most important on-page element. It's the first thing. We have description, outline, content, media, and length. Previously, we were scoring about 60% of the details that we are scoring after this release. Excuse me. Okay, so let's go through some common nomenclatures, right? Like how to understand this. And a typical means, this is the range of certain words being targeted in those ranking pages. How many words, right? So let's look at this and you will quickly understand, like, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's total 5 words, out of which most people are targeting 2. That kind of gives you an idea that they're targeting maybe Elementor and DV, and the rest can be a little different here and there, right? Like, but they have some certain common terms which they're definitely using, which is Elementor and DV, and you can see that from our primary keyword itself. But you want to target as many as possible, right? So, and now the logic is designed to score everything, and so it's a comprehensive picture of how you evaluate your competitors and you evaluate yourself in a similar fashion to understand where you add expertise, where you optimize content, where you structure content properly for better reading, and where you add more value. Okay, so this is typical, and this is how many you have targeted in your content. So you can see we have targeted 5, and hence it is 5. You can go through each of these sections and optimize your content. Now, what I want to iterate on is the outlines. Let's open up the words to target in the outline. These are much more concise words. Now, every page has many things which are similar, and there are a few things which are different. Otherwise, everybody would be creating the same content, and you'd think, right, like everybody can rank, but that doesn't necessarily happen, right? Like there is more or less content, there's different points of opinion that are being added into the content. So what we want to find is the commonality between all of these things, right? But with an understanding of how much difference there could be. So this is commonality. It's telling you that typically like at least 6 of these keywords have been used in all the ranking pages. And there's significant overlap of keywords, and that's why this is 12, right? So you want to be targeting if you want to target this topic comprehensively, you want to include as many of these keywords in your outline as possible. Now, this gives you the commonality, right? Like you get close to including everything that most of your that all of your competitors are including. Now, what can you add different, right? Like that's where you can be a little more creative and understand that the typical range is a typical range of headings you should be using in your content is 23 to 35. And if you have a little over the suggested number, right, like you're most likely exceeding this as well, and getting into that uniqueness of your outlines as well. So it comprehensively considers all of these scenarios to score the content, not yours and competitors' content. Then there's search terms that you can see that if it is gray, that means all top 5 ranking pages are targeting this keyword in their outline somewhat, right? Like they're ranking very well for this keywords. Then there will be some of which are yellow, which they're sort of not greatly ranking, but some other pages are ranking for, right? Like there's a little bit of overlap. So you can comprehensively still update this data. This is still available in the outline, but if you need to refer to this when you're optimizing your content, this is very handy. And you can obviously, let's go up. You can obviously click on any of these terms, and this is your outline terms. Okay, let's minimize this and go to the next part. All right, the next part is the most crucial because this is really getting into the nitty-gritty of what your word count looks like, what you should consider. And now if your content is like just way too long, right, like, and which might not be the ideal experience that people are looking for when they are searching for that particular query, it will tell you to reduce the word count as well. So it goes both ways over there. Then there's common entities, which is topics. So before we used to call it topics, but now we want to call it as is. It's common entities that you can target in your content. What are common entities? They are literally nouns, pronouns, along with some adverbs and adjectives that are targeted in all the pages, most of the pages, right? Like that's the basic benchmark. And we found that 41 keywords have been used in all the pages, like totally. But then there's significant overlap going to which leads to 146, right? And you want to be in somewhere between that range, right? Like you want the uniqueness, but you want the common entities, right? So depending upon your style, we're scoring the content, we're scoring these entities for your competitors in a similar fashion. So the score is automatically adapts to the search query, but you want to be in the higher range of common entities. Okay, well, you're bringing common entities, we're not bringing any unique entities, right? So how do we bring in unique entities? And you need to write sufficient amount of content before it can actually understand, it can start calculating entities. And for that reason, let me, okay, all right. I will save and refresh the score and see if that improves the word count, and probably not. It's not going to improve. Once you start having enough content in your, and we'll look at a different example where I can show you common entities. But once you have enough content in your editor, which we can actually look for and find unique entities when comparing it to your ranking pages, will suggest you how many unique entities do you need for this. So let's go ahead and look at this option, right? So there are 1 to 15 unique entities There's a small page. There is one page which has very little uniqueness to it, right? Because a lot of people have written around it and built upon it and things like that. But there's such one page, and then there are other 15 entities, maximum uh, entities which are unique to any page is 15. So we are calculating the unique entities on each page and giving you a range of that. Which what that tells you is that if you are in that unique range as well, you have enough amount of uniqueness to your content, so with a potential of ranking, right? So you're adding the right mix of common as well as uniqueness to your content. Now, we're not going to tell you which unique entities are there on each of these pages, right? That would defeat the purpose, and you would just use that. That's not what we are trying to do. What we are trying to give you is a range in which you can create your own unique entities and own ideas and bring your own expertise to add more value to the content. Okay. We're also, and I see a bunch of people raising this, right? Like, so let me go through the SEO audit and then quickly go through prompt writing. And then we'll take tons and tons of questions. I'm sure people are excited, thrilled, and scared and all of it, right? We will go through each of these questions one by one. So just hang in tight and let's finish this and then we'll get there. And we can jump back to any of the sections to answer any of your questions later. So hang tight and add all your questions in the QA so I can go through them one by one. Okay. Now, this is statistics, which means the amount of statistical data mentioned in each of these pages, right? If you notice, many times, unless you specifically advise AI writing tools to give you statistical details based on some background data that you're given it, right? Like it's a process to build a query like that and extract that information anyways. But often tools will not do this. And hence, right, like the amount of information that you can show as part of evidence and argumentation in your content becomes significantly less and less, right? Like those are the kind of things that are bound to be caught by, like, you know, what you'd call it low quality content. So to mitigate that, right, we want to ensure that you have enough amount of statistics. Actually, you go beyond that. Like, for example, if you are talking about you know, let's say content marketing trends, right? And everyone has used approximately 100 statistical data points, right? And you are using 100. What's the difference, right? Like nothing. I go above and beyond that. Understand what majority of the people are doing and doing it a little better. You can click on it and you can go through all the data that we have found that could have some form of statistics in it, right? Like you can look at this and understand how people are mentioning numbers in their content. Then we are similarly grading you based on tables as well. Adding tables requires additional efforts, styling, getting the data, putting it into the right cells, right? Like it requires significant amount of additional labor and understanding of subject matter expertise to build out this table. Having tables in your content can improve the structure, the readability of your content as well, right? So this all adds to part of EEAT, right? Like you're trying to give as much information in structured manner as possible. And having an understanding of what your competition is doing can greatly help this, right? Like, I kid you not, like when we were evaluating pages, like a long time ago, when you have like equal competitors fighting for a particular keyword, when you go and evaluate a page to see what they could potentially be doing better, tables, statistics, and list items are always on the list for SERP analysis. So hence, we have list items as well, which is unordered and ordered list. Now, anytime you get lost, you want to understand how to optimize any of these things, read the comment below. And everything or every checkpoint has comments over here that suggest how you can use the data and how you can use this particular feature to optimize your content. Okay, so imagine, right, like everything is being scored up till this point. Then we have media, We're also scoring you for images, which we were not doing, right? And a very cool thing that I want to show about images is that many of you were lost as to where is the alt tags, right? Like, so you have to click on the image to understand where the alt tags are. Now we are scoring you for alt tags, right? So we wanted to make it easy for you to add and understand where my alt tags are. And this is your alt tag. You can delete the image by clicking on delete. You can change your alt tags right into the editor and go from there. We're also evaluating each page for a video. And I was just recently optimizing a particular page, right? Like that had dropped in ranking. And I understood like there were 1 to 2 videos being used in most of these pages, right? Like, and I saw this over 15 times in numerous keywords that we've been evaluating with this new release. Is that many people have started including videos. And many times they were unique videos, right? Like, it was the person who was talking, who was narrating the blog post is the person who's created the video, and there's some sort of connection from your blog to the YouTube video channel, right? And Google can read video text, right? Like, there are numerous video to text tools right out there. It's super easy and fast for anyone to process videos and collect the text of what's on a particular page. So it actually contributes to SEO a lot. So including video is a great tip, and it is scored, right? Like, if a video is not there on any of the competitors' pages, we are not scoring them either, right? So having that does give you additional leverage. Okay, let's go to links now. Links, citations, right? Like, you can see that there is a common link between all the pages. So you can use this common citations along with the typical range that's suggested. So there are as many as 13 citations in a particular page. You can stay comfortably between any of this range and you should be okay to rank for. Okay. Exceeding, a lot more over can have little negative implications versus going lower than what's typically suggested means that you're not doing enough research and not giving enough credit to people, right? So understand this is data. We're understanding what other people are doing and trying to do it a little better than they are. Okay, internal links. Now, internal links, this is, again, what it was, right? We slightly improved the logic with PageRank to group better URLs when suggesting link from, but nothing has changed here in terms of UI. You can still use this to generate internal link suggestions. This is finally your anchor text. And there are 2 to 3 terms out of this common in most of the pages. So try using them, and that's how you will improve your score. So anything that you see over here that is either red, yellow, or green, it's being scored. We're scoring all of those elements against your content and competitors to give you a comprehensive idea of what you can do. Okay, let's quickly go through audit. And this is for people who want to export the suggestions and add more to it, edit, delete, and provide a better briefing to some of your clients. You can use this audit report, and you can just download this file as a doc and import it into a Google Doc or wherever you'd want to take it. But this gives you a comprehensive audit on what could potentially be improved in your content against your competitors. Okay, this is the complete view of how you score your content. And I cannot believe that I am only about 30 minutes into the webinar and I was able to go through entire scoring. A quick notes over here. Some people might wonder where is feature snippet optimization and things like that. You can find that in your audit report. If you do not have any feature snippets or your content is not optimized for feature snippets, the recommendation will come up here as you go down your content and start adding more and more things in your editor. Okay. All right. Let's go and look at the next thing. All right. Comprehensive update of the scoring over here. Now I want to show some quick things that we have enhanced in AI writing tools. Okay. Well, before that, right, like let's go to the editor. and you will find now table of content to easily navigate between your sections. When you have long piece of content that you are trying to navigate to, it could be very difficult. And hence we have added the table of content, which you can invoke by clicking on this icon and collapsing it if you don't need it. Okay, let's go to the top, and I want to show some improvements to prompt writing. Click on tools, and once you're in tools, there are a few things that you should know about prompt writing, and all of those details are mentioned over here along with some advanced controls. So we've added advanced controls, and this is what can help you get better details, better data out of your prompt using all the pages that we had added in the research phase, and now when you're doing the prompt writing. So I've added a few examples over here to kind of let you understand what it can really do. Okay, the first example is a regular prompt, but I've added this brackets over here where I've added 2 keywords, or 2 concepts or 2 phrases, or you could even ask 2 questions. Anything that suits you, you can add it over here. What we will do is we will try to identify semantically related information to this particular terms that you've added, right? If you've added 1, you've added 3, you've added 5, you can do whatever you want with it and get as much data as you want, and build your background data automatically using a query. This allows you to, let's say, go and find information for Elementor statistics, and allows you to go and find information for Elementor customers and answer the prompt that I've currently written over here. Okay, now I want to run a couple of prompts to give you an idea of what this does. And for that, I'm going to go my workflow settings, and I'm going to allow sources. So when we are writing, it can print the sources. Okay, now let's minimize this, and we can run the prompt. Now understand, this prompt writing is very different than any other prompt writing that you'd see on many tools. We're going semantically finding, so understand we're building this embedding files in the background and getting all those details from many places and trying to write information around it, right? Now you can see it has an astounding 11 million people are using Elementor. It has support. It was launched in 2016, and we've got it from the sources. Many sources, right? Like you can understand the kind of details that go in building this this type of content. And you can, of course, break your content out and structure it better if you'd like, right? Like so, going about that, and I built a very simple query without thinking much of it to demonstrate what this particular utility can do. Okay, now let's go to one of the other prompts over here. Now, I'm not going to build out a factual prompt for this, right? But you can see if I add a star to it, then it will not look for any research. It will be more creative, and it will use any information that you've provided on top of it, along with the prompt, to build out what comes after it, right? So it essentially works like sentence completions, right? Like so, you can use that, and you can run the prompt in similar fashion. Okay, let's go and look at some additional things over here. So multi-phrase and multi-phrase in this. Now, okay, all right. Now, one more enhancement over here, which is big, is ability to add your own templates and save them as part of your prompt templates, right? So you can type / and it will open up this panel, which allows you to add your own templates and save them. To add a template, you can simply click on plus, and you can add your new templates, and you can even use placeholders like title, keyword, tone, and audience to automatically populate what you have done, what the title you build out in the initial steps, the keywords, if there is a tone that you had set on the title page, right? Like the audience that you might have talked about in the audience page, in the title page, it can build out your prompt with all of these details automatically. So let's go and close this out so I can show you what this does. And you can see it automatically added my title. So things like that to kind of give you ability to save more time and save your own prompts and create your own workflows that you can search through, and you can share it with your team, and just sort of build a process around that. Okay, all right. We've also added the ability to generate your prompt using some background data, and this can take almost up to 3,000 words in it, right? Like, so you can dump any research that you have, and you can build out your prompt, and we will not go and look for new details. But if you'd want to go and research new information, you can just use that. You can just use that as well. So that's for the new enhancements to the prompt writing. We've got the 4 sections over here, so you can still do sections writing and get in your more prompts and build out your sections individually using prompt writing if that's something that you're more comfortable with, which is same thing as before, just the position is from right to left. Yep, you can still use similar controls to do everything that you were doing before in a much more granular way. But again, now there are better ways to create content if you understand what is prompt writing, right? So if you are still new to prompt writing, get ahead of it and start learning how to really create some amazing prompts, right? Like, it might take you 15 minutes to write a prompt, but what you'd get out of it would be amazing. Okay, your methods are still here, and you can quickly search through introduction, conclusions, and find those details. You can generate image ideas, and you don't need to. It's not part of your workflow. You don't have to generate the image prompt. Yep, that's for that. You can close this out. Okay, finally we go to publish. Nothing changed over here in form of publish. This are all the changes to the editor for AI writing. Now let me quickly go through the brief. This should not take much time. Brief is still as simple as it was. We've just enriched it with some more data. Okay, let me go through the brief. And in brief, with the overall data improvements across the platform and understanding a better and wider range of information, we've also added abilities for you to add citation. Well, there were citations before. For you to add, where is the section actually? Links to, links from. Okay. We've added the ability to add writing guidance for each of this outline, so you can do this over here in one workflow steps rather than 2, and sort of build out your outline. That's about it for the content brief, right? With the overall data improvements and part of this information. We've also added statistics and any list items and videos and all of that. If you should be targeting, right, it will automatically populate if it is suggested for that particular topic, and make it as part of your brief. You can disable it. If any section you don't want to be shown as part of your brief, you can disable it as well, and then just click on share brief to share this with your writers. So more data over here, and a little better way of guiding the writers for those of you who want to go extremely detailed and give everything to the writer as fast as possible. This is a very streamlined workflow for content briefs. Okay, all right. So like I said, like 40 to 45 minutes, and I think we have that. And this link was copied. I can take it and send it to my writer, who can then go further, look at the brief, and later optimize the content with the editor. That's it, 45 minutes, and we are through with the entire editor. I showed every little details that you need to learn, understand where they are, and how to use them. with some many enhancements that little or small, right? Like that you might not realize from the upfront is some major UX changes, right? Like if your screen becomes smaller, it's not going to take up so much space that is empty, right? Like understanding many of those things have drastically changed. So your experience with the platform should be much, much better than it was before. At least we're hoping. And I'll start now taking questions. Open. Okay, all right. There's 22 questions over here. I can hear you. Hey, comrades, I can hear you. Okay. Now I'm gonna start taking questions over here. And there are a few people who have raised hands, and just bear with me. I'm learning to do this. So let me go through this questions quickly, and then I will take the ones that have raised hands. If they want to speak up, ask any questions on the audio, that's great as well. So Clement says, like, are there ways to create systems for ourselves that we can think of creating unique entities? How do you do it with your writers? Or maybe just ask ChatGPT. Well, I won't ask ChatGPT for things like that. It can give you some ideas, but you are still going to have to build out those ideas and the concepts around them, right? And that's something that's very important. So the way I brief my writers on how to create unique entities is finding information that does not exist, finding nouns, proper nouns, along with adverbs or adjectives, which are not present in the ranking pages. The top 20 ranking pages, right? Like if they are not present, then they are unique to my content. So I'm bringing some additional value. So for example, right, if you're talking about, let's say, SEO case study, or you say pet blogging case study, a couple of names would come up again and again, and everybody's just using those names, right? But what if you specifically mentioned that you need to find some unique examples, right? Like as part of your entity. That's perfect, right? Like unique examples, not the examples that have been used in the search, but unique examples. Then they're forced to go outside and find this information and include, which will be only unique to your page, at least from that SERP perspective. Since your content meets the guideline, now if you have better examples that that support the overall idea, then you have unique content, right? Like, so that's how I would think about it, and ask them to go outside of the 20 pages, right? Like, I want to use all the entities from those ranking pages, so my content is as close to the common nature of the content that people are looking for. But I want to base my the entire research on many other pages. So I'd essentially look at 50, 60, 70 pages before I'm fully through with the content, right? Like the top 20 pages, I would rarely look at them for structure, for the kind of information that they're mentioning, but rarely use them as part of my inspiration in writing the actual concept and building out the information, if that makes sense, right? So you can take the inspiration for how common your content needs to be and find more better information elsewhere to incorporate the richness of your content and make it unique. Okay, in content and scoring, is this based on SERPs or ORs including enriched data? In content and scoring, is this based on SERPs or ORs including the enriched data? Is there a way to see whether it is one or the other? What competition is doing versus what we have pulled ourselves in enriched data? I'm not sure what is enriched data, but enriching data for scoring, I'm a little lost over there, so I'll come back to that, Clement. Then James asks, what is the process for finding and adding images with OR? You'd still have to use your screenshot tools, right? Like if your content is generic, then there are plenty of daily type tools and Mid-Journey that you can use to create some generic images or even stock photos, which might be even cheaper than getting someone to give you prompts, right? Like it's constantly evolving. So you would still have to go and find those images, and you can click on the image icon in the header to add your own images, right? Like we're not finding the images at the moment. And we believe, right, like for the kind of information that will hold value, in SERPs will not be generic information. It will be much more sort of well-researched and data driven and user-oriented information, right? So that's what we want to focus on. And I truly believe that some of the simple types of topics, right, could be easily swallowed by tools like ChatGPT, and there might not be need of for so many generic topics and people trying to outranking each other for those kind of queries in substantially longer period of time. But this will truly hold value when information is well researched and there are details which doesn't exist in the top ranking pages, along with the information that does exist in those ranking pages. Which model is prompt using? We're still using 3.5 and we'll continue using that for as long as that we need to, because we are doing research writing. And for research writing, understanding semantic search and how you pull those details in could be done with a lot more flexibility than using ChatGPT, which is stringent on how you should be asking for the prompts and designing your prompts, right? Like we have trained a library of prompts, right? We've trained our models, and to retrain a particular model with that kind of detail, you have to do a lot of testing, right? So, and this is changing now, and then we have 4, right? We would want to adapt 4 once we have the quota increase, right? But if they're still testing it out and it's only available to a few with on a limited quota, right? So we will start testing it out with more data in the background when it becomes more readily available, and it's not in the beta testing phase. Once it's out, we'll make it more commercial. But at the moment, we have very good engine build that can automatically find this researched information, structure it, and take your prompt and the queries and bring out the right kind of details from it. So I wouldn't say that there is probably any visible differences between anything that you'd use, but outranking is factual of nature and it brings in the background automatically, which is tons and tons of work. Going through 3 or 4 or 5, I showed you an example with 4 pages, opening up 4 pages, finding the right details on each of those pages, combining that detail, creating a prompt on top of it, and extracting detail will take you 10 times more time than what it takes you with outranking with a few seconds of wait time in the prompt writing. So it's significantly different, and it can be better managed with the models that we currently have. So does prompt writing use case search credits? No, it does not use search credits, but we use, like, that's part of our the pricing, right? Like, why is outranking a little more expensive in terms of characters than any of these tools? Is because we have embeddings, right? Like you are creating this file, and if you know what embeddings are, go through OpenAI embeddings and understand what that technology is, and it's expensive as well, right? Like there are so many things involved, but you'd have to create a library of structured data, then you have to go and search through that data for semantic terms using OpenAI and things like that. It's not that easy and easy to do, right? Like without proper processes and softwares or processes built around on the softwares to kind of go and dig through this information and do this. So that's why the justified cost, right? Like you are doing this research automatically. Is there any type of shared template library that all ORG users use? You can currently use this in your prompt writing. So let me go back to my editor, and I could probably go through my prompts. And here it should be actually. So when this is empty, there's a help section that leads you to an OR library. What we have planned is a shared library when you add slash. But since many of you are already using to build your own prompt library, we wanted to give this feature out first and then enhance it with public library. We will bring out that. Currently, there is a blog post that has approximately 60 prompts for different reasons that you would use in a blog post that you can tweak, modify, and create your own. I would highly recommend you to go through that sheet. Just open up a new document, and the link is in the help section at the bottom. Okay, for the prompts and the data current, the data is as current as today for the prompts, provided it is in the background research, right? And again, if you joined late, go and revisit this webinar where I demonstrated how you can add more background data to this by adding multiple URLs, adding search query, for example, Milwaukee, if I can only write it correctly, right? Like some Milwaukee, right? Like you can add queries in it, and you can extract background research so that when we are writing, we use we have an understanding of all these details, and we can go and find those details to help you write. Can the prompt writing include at the headings writing under? Can the prompt include at the heading H2? You're under, sure, you can start your prompt wherever you'd want, but make it detailed. Don't expect it to automatically know what your heading is and how you want it to put together the context, right? You want to structure your prompt in a whole manner that has all the concepts and everything that you want the prompt to have without a little with as little as guesswork as possible. Absolutely. Well, so WP theme like Brick Builder, you can export HTML out of it and structure it. But I would say if you are putting a lot more effort into structuring your page with different themes and different processes in place, I would recommend that there's still going to be some manual work needed in order for you to do this. But a clean HTML is a great way to get it in and comply with your existing themes that you can then modify and change. So yes, absolutely. Please have a blog post with screenshots showing the new changes in 11 since the webinar is information overloaded. Great feedback. It is information overloaded, so it's going to be about an hour 15 minutes, but we have short videos. Many of them already went live earlier today, and the entire set of library, the new library, we're removing the old videos, and new libraries will go out later today as well. So look out for that. Many of them are already live, so you can get started right away. How does outranking perform with other languages? In past experience wasn't good as English. Well, there are certain challenges with Greek because in Greek, the ways the tokens are calculated and things like that, it's much different in ChatGPT. So discount the writing part. Outranking does extremely well with everything else on the platform for all the languages that we're supporting currently. A few languages are challenging for most of the AIs because of the tokenization and how they are tokenized and how much information you can process the background data and things like that. And hence, it's not much we can do things like Greek, for example. But yeah, feel free to go ahead and use it. It should work great for all languages. I would extremely suggest, if you can do prompt writing all day long, I would suggest you do prompt writing all day long, Samarjeet, because it's more guided. And I can write an argumentation for why Milwaukee is the best destination for a day trip from Chicago. But I could write argumentation with a day trip planner with a busy schedule for all the destinations to visit in Milwaukee as a day trip from Chicago. If I do the prompt, you can understand the kind of value that you provide with the second statement that I just said versus the first statement is significantly different, right? Like the kind of details the user get and the research, the kind of research that goes behind what he gets is going to be, he or she gets, it's going to be amazingly elevated, right? Like and much different. So I would say prompt writing all day long. With ChatGPT 4 out, with you incorporate this into the editor, absolutely, why not? ChatGPT is we're currently testing a ChatGPT, but there are rate limits, is what I said, right? Like it's not great for scaled rollout, and they would obviously declare that as well. So once it is there, once we've tested it thoroughly on a set of audiences, right? Like we'll roll this out. But as is, the quality that we have with the kind of research that goes behind it is still phenomenal, factual, and we are driving the bias by that background data so it can understand 2023 March 21st, right? Like that's how great it is. So will you be deleting or at least making the old YouTube videos a piece of training that shows old interfaces? So we want to reduce the clutter and not get everyone confused. So we will be doing some cleanup, and you will see, right, like things that which you absolutely don't need, but what provides value will still be there. For the terms that are not included in the content creation process, how do you include this as if you are trying to make a sense out of these terms or keywords? The content will probably be 30K or more words. Or how do you include all suggested term without overboating the content? So great question, right? Like, and that's something that you should ask every time you're creating this content, and that's why we have common entities. What many people do is they go after 115. Well, let me tell you, this 115 is typical range, but the entirety of this list is probably 200, 300. If you go about optimizing these terms and going crazy over it, you're done. Like that will be 30K, right? Like, but that's not the point. The point is to have all the common things in your content plus some variations or improvements to it, and then your own unique value. So the ones that you see most important are the ones I would strongly suggest you should have them, because this is what the data says, that every page has used this keyword in their content, right? Like, so if I had to make a database decision, I would say that yes, I need to do it as well, along with many other improvements that I can bring. And then we're saying that there are quite a few other terms which are overlapping significantly. So use wisely, right? And that's why we are suggesting a range of topics and not telling you to exceed 115 out of it. That's the basic fundamental behind it, right? Like you're targeting approximately the average of it and not going totally overboarded. And you will see the reflection in the score. So what we're suggesting is that you want to cross the comprehensive score of what's still listed over here, and not always go for 100. Like, sometimes they just don't have video. So don't go nuts over it, right? Like understand what's bare minimum required, do that, and then evaluate what additional things you want to add that will bring value to the audience, not SEO, not anything else, but the audience, because you've covered the SEO of common things already. What is the command to let the prompt writer in a different language? It is automatically picked based on the language that you used as part of your document. It cannot do cross-writing of languages. That's something that you would have to do with star and asking it to translate the above passage into something else. Okay, Clement, thanks for the clarification. I'll have to revisit that question. I'll do that just momentarily as soon as I go through all of these things here. When I open an existing article or brief, I always see we're collecting data from the top ranking pages for the document. It takes a couple of minutes to process. Is it normal? After the release, there is a small production bug that is taking a little longer than usual to load the page first time, every time you open it. But expect to have it resolved pretty soon. It's not the application, it's something else. So we're working on resolving that. But that should not interrupt your workflow for more than 30 seconds additional, right? At the moment. So we are aware of that. What is the best workflow from Outranking to WordPress post or page? So once you have completed it, right, like you can click on publish, and then this is the WordPress plugin, right? Like you can download the WordPress plugin and just do export import. If it's a regular blog post, you can export or import. You can also copy the clean HTML, download it, copy all content and just paste it. It all should work, discounted the fact that you might have to re-upload the images if you do copy all the content and paste if you don't have the right plugins. But you can use WordPress plugin to export the data from your document into your WordPress editor. Okay, I would love to see a shared prompt library for all OR users for the most common task. I'm not sure people feel comfortable sharing their prompts, so we will have an extensive library of our own for various use cases, right? Like as soon as some other improvements are rolled out, along with that, we will definitely roll this out. Um, does the Google operator work in add URLs to background data? Well, you can just click on outline and add the background data to the URLs over there. You're asking for URLs. That's a little complicated unless I'm reading the entire page, right? I want to find semantic information from those pages for the right detail. People who say that, all right, I have a page, go find this detail from that particular page. How do I actually do that, right? Like if I don't use any sort of AI, in that case, I'm just using the entire data, passing it to the AI, and hoping that it would read the parts which actually has the information that you want to write about. So it's very tricky and it doesn't work. So you need to add this URLs as form of structured information that you can find semantic information from. If it's a 20,000 word long post URL that you're using, right? We cannot read all that data. We need to find semantic information from that data that is concise enough to be influenced, and then you should be writing information around. So that's why it does not work. To give you a full explanation, um, can you add PDFs as background data? You can add and it will try and index those PDFs, but it's not a guarantee. PDF encodings are very different, and many times it's possible, many times it's not possible structurally. So that is a bit of a challenge. But you can convert if you are extensive on PDFs and you have your own library, it'd be a good idea to convert those into HTML and give them an HTML link. Is this a prompt blog post? Yes, it is, James. That's the one. About the prompts, I'm not really sure how to use that to full advantage. So there's a video explaining the ways, the logic behind it. There is a video that will go out as part of our training series, along with the release notes later today. And you will see all the videos in there along with this recording as well. So don't miss that out. And also the link that James shared just above your questions about AI writing prompts, you can use it as a reference. Once the article is completed, it's a good idea to put the copy in AI writing detectors. Depends how you wrote it, and only you know how you wrote it. Did you write it with the total intention of finishing the post, or did you write it with total intention of helping readers get the most value out of what you've written? If you answer that, you would know whether you need to put it in the AI detectors or not. Google doesn't care if your content is AI, and you can type, for example, the professional writing, 100% AI, but more value added. That's why it ranks. And right, like you can probably see many product related websites with like hundreds and hundreds of pages written with AI. Although you might think that they are good content, but totally crap because they did not think about the user, right? So what my advice here would be is to look at the content and see if you justified, well, if you can, give a pat on your back and say that you have given the best content to someone searching for that query, and they should come and look at what you are selling. Should the sitemap default to silos you are writing under? Yes, and you can set your sitemap in your profile if you have one site as default, and it can find silos in the. It can find links and keywords in the silo that you should be including as part of your internal links. And there's, there's a number of ways Outranking is suggesting you this detailed information about like PageRank data and things like that, which is very difficult to contemplate when all to put together, right? Like, and come up with a comprehensive scoring that reflects many of these things. Okay, if you study the outline produced by Outranking, it's copying the outlines from the top 10 pages. Isn't that concerning since you're producing the same content and only make slight adjustments? Please explain. Absolutely, I will. All right, let's go here. And I will tell you when it does pull out information from the top ranking pages. For best day trips, or how do I, let's go and delete that, right? And I will generate the outline. I will generate this. So understand, what are the things that I cannot rewrite from, if you see this list? Like, can I rewrite Chicago? Can I rewrite Milwaukee, Illinois? Or should I rewrite Milwaukee, Illinois, or be dependent on tools like ChatGPT to ask it to give me the best day trips from Chicago, which does not have an understanding of the geography of Chicago has evolved over the years, or what is a day trip now with trains and certain modes of transportations and everything into place, right? Like, doesn't know. So when I'm trying to find ideas for those, I need to read through ranking pages. And without that, I would have ideas, but not factual, foolproof, or I could definitely say that they are true, right? So the job for the outline builder is to set a foundation so that you can start structuring this further yourself. It's not producing 100% quote unquote plagiarism free outlines, because you cannot, there's no such thing as plagiarizing a phrase which has all nouns or pronouns. Like, you can't really write Funkil Shah in a different way, right? Like, because it's written that way. So we need to find that kind of details and not make Pankaj Shah some other person, because I'm AI. So for that reason, those kind of outlines are all built out. So let's say when I do this, the 3 best day trips from Chicago, this is something that you will find directly being extracted from ranking pages with some variations to it, but many could look like, hey, 10 and 11 could definitely look like that, right? So understand, it's based on the type of outline that we are trying to build out. This is an ideation tool that uses data to suggest a course of action, but it's really no means to a final thing. You still have to go through this, see, okay, Chicago Outfitters, Final Michigan, want to add something to it, or maybe modify it slightly so it doesn't look like a competitor heading. You can do that, and you should do that yourself. It's not concerning because this is an ideation tool. You're still the last judge for it to kind of qualify it, whether whether you want this sort of commonness with other content or not, right? Like, it's very opinion based. Okay. All right. Can you put links to local HTML files for background data? Put links for local HTML files? No, not local HTML files. They need to be a URL that we can scrape information from. Where do we find our AI credits now? It is still in the settings icon. If you go here and you can click on the settings icon over here, a profile icon, which will lead you to that, which will lead you directly to that. So that's for that. And let me see all the people that are here. Okay, so a few people have raised their hands. And if you are okay, let me, I can allow one by one to bring you on. James Power, I have allowed all 4 of you to talk. If you have any questions, feel free to just unmute and ask. Sounds good.
I said I'm okay.
Sounds good. Sounds good. All right. If anybody has any other questions, I think I answered all of that. And the ones was Clement about the background data. Well, this is going to take some time to find it. But any other questions? If not, I think this was a great session. I covered everything that we've done with Outranking. I truly think that you should all optimize your content using Outranking with this new tool to have a comprehensive understanding of where you stand against your competition and what all things you can bring to the table that might add additional value to your page. That would be it. Thank you all for being here. And if you have any questions, feel free to drop that in our group. Finally, yes, and I totally forgot to mention this. We have one more giant update, right? Like, so we updated one part of the application, which is this, and we have a very giant update and tons of enhancements to strategist. We're struggling to find a date, but most likely next Thursday or the Tuesday after that is the release for the strategist part of it. I also wanted to make a quick comment. There are many users on Outranking which are on tier 1, tier 2 AppSumo plans since a long time. And they were constantly being asked with the credits, and it was making certain parts of the product not useful for them. So we've made some adjustments in UX that will not stop you from working on Outranking, even if you don't have AI credits, right? You can still do many of the manual, almost everything manually, as well as use parts of your AI credits with the workflow improvements that you made. So it should be much easier for you, right? Like you can, we understand, right? Like some people are learning on how to use or how to, how to do SEO. Absolutely, right? Like you might be tight on budget. So we made those considerations to allow you to do certain things manually as well. And just being a little more open there. Does the Google operator work in add URLs to background? Yes, absolutely. It does. Google operator totally works. You can get a URL to, you can get 10 pages for a particular URL. All of that is 100% possible. Search operators work in background data. Okay. Any other questions? For some reason, it came up. Anyways, so I think we'd call this a day. Thank you all for being here, and have a lovely rest of the day, week, and drop all the questions in the group or email them to support. Thank you all for being here. Have a good one.